Welcome back to The Explainer! Today we are deconstructing nursery rhymes, tearing down the walls of childhood nostalgia to look at the sheer, brilliant structural mechanics hiding inside Hindi storytelling. You know, if you've ever wondered what makes a story truly stick, what makes a simple rhyme generate the best possible engagement from a young, developing mind, well, the answer isn't just magic, it's mechanics. We're going to break down two absolute classic Hindi nursery rhymes today, not just as fun little songs, but as literal masterclasses in narrative design that captivate our brains.
Idara, idara, idara. Come here, come here, come here. You know the rhythm, right? It's iconic. It's this repetitive, almost hypnotic chant. And here's the thing. When children hear this, they aren't just passively listening to a story being told to them. They're being actively pulled into it. This rhythm acts as an interactive hook that just immediately immerses them into the world we're about to explore.
So let's jump into part one, the escalating elephant posse. We're going to look at the classic Ek Mota Hathi and really explore its incredibly sticky narrative structure.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Ek Mota Hathi is what folklorists and literary nerds actually call a cumulative tale. Basically, this is a narrative that builds systematically. It constantly adds new elements, new characters, or new obstacles to a central, escalating situation. Think of it kind of like storytelling building blocks. You start with just one block, you establish a clear pattern, and then you just keep stacking them higher and higher and higher. Each new verse piles on a new character and a fresh obstacle.
And this progression illustrates exactly how that escalation works in practice. I mean, we start off reasonable enough, right? One fat elephant goes for a walk in the rain and gets stuck in the mud. Then two elephants get stuck in a narrow path. But by the time we hit elephant number 3, the situation gets wonderfully ridiculous. They're trying to sit on a tiny bicycle. At 4, they pile onto a vegetable cart, and of course the whole thing completely collapses under their weight. Finally, 5 elephants find themselves trapped in a monkey's net. The sheer tempo of the absurdity just keeps rising with every single verse.
Now, what makes this actually work is a strict mechanical loop. Every single verse follows exactly these 3 steps. First, they encounter an absurd obstacle. Second, they notice another elephant off in the distance. And third, they do the hand gesture and call out, idara, idara, idara. This predictable, highly physical progression gives kids a dependable loop. They know exactly what's coming next, which means they can jump in and chant along with total confidence.
And notice how this builds on the whole idea of participation through comedy. I mean, seriously, why would 3 massive elephants try to sit on a tiny bicycle? It makes absolutely 0 sense. But, actually, that's the genius of it. The rhyme deliberately contrasts the immense, heavy size of the elephants with increasingly tiny, fragile, or restrictive things. It's relying entirely on the visual humor of physical incompatibility to keep kids hooked.
Which brings us to the grand finale, number 5. We've got 5 massive elephants now tangled up in a monkey's net. They see the monkey, and instead of panicking or crying, they look at him and just start laughing. They pull off the net, and the whole rhyme ends with all 5 of them joyfully swaying, dancing, and singing together. It's this incredibly satisfying resolution to all that escalating tension we just tracked.
All right, moving right along to part 2, associative logic and dreams. We are shifting gears to our second rhyme, Upar Pankha Chalta Hai, which completely abandons the math of the first one for something much, much stranger.
The contrast between these two is wild. On the one hand, we just broke down the cumulative counting of the elephants. It's logical, it's sequential, it's predictable. But over on the other side, Upar Pankha relies on an associative flow. We are trading heavy elephants for spinning fans and peanuts, and we're swapping out predictable loops for a totally unpredictable journey.
To really get this, we need to talk about associative logic. This is essentially a sequence where one idea triggers the next based on a totally random or subconscious connection. It's exactly how a dream works. There's no grand overarching plot here. There is only a stream of consciousness adventure where one random thing just kind of tumbles into the next.
Let's actually map out this bizarre chain of events. It starts out normal. A fan is spinning above, and a kid, maybe Ajay, maybe Mooney, is sleeping below. Normal, right? But then, mid-sleep, they're suddenly hungry. Boom, snack time, someone brings peanuts. But wait, tragedy strikes. The peanuts have no seeds. And because there are no seeds, suddenly we are yelling, I am not your uncle. Next thing you know, the uncle goes off to a city called Kota, and he comes back with a parrot. And to wrap it all up, the parrot eats, sings a song, and forces the uncle to listen to it.
Honestly, you just have to step back and laugh at how absurd it is. Logically, what do empty peanuts have to do with an uncle taking a trip to Kota?
Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. But phonetically, in Hindi, it makes perfect sense. The phrase for no seeds is dana nahi, and the phrase for not your uncle is mama nahi. Dana nahi just magically, musically morphs into mama nahi. The plot isn't driving the story here, the literal sound of the words is driving the story.
So, the real takeaway here is that this associative flow perfectly mimics the jumpy, unpredictable nature of a child's imagination. It starts grounded in reality, a kid in a bedroom with a ceiling fan, and it just cascades into this surreal dreamscape featuring a musical parrot. It captures exactly how a child's mind playfully wanders as they're drifting off to sleep.
Which leads us to part 3, the power of nonsense. We've looked at 2 entirely different structural masterpieces, and now it's time to bring them together to see the full picture.
We've essentially got 2 distinct tool sets at play here. Ek Mota Hathi is mathematical and escalating. It delivers predictability and interactive counting. Upar Panka, on the flip side, is dreamlike and random. It offers surprise, musicality, and wacky wordplay. Both of these mechanics, the deeply predictable and the wonderfully surprising, are just vital storytelling tools. They are exactly what generate the best audience engagement because they stimulate totally different but equally important parts of a developing brain.
And that brings us to the final thought for today's explainer. These aren't just silly throwaway songs. These rhymes masterfully use repetition, counting, and sheer absurdity to unlock the universal joy of childhood imagination. They're actually the very first frameworks we're given to understand logic, humor, and the power of language. So next time you hear a kid chanting about an elephant on a bicycle or an uncle in coda, take a second and ask yourself, what other incredibly complex storytelling mechanics are hiding in plain sight, right inside the stories we take for granted? Thanks so much for joining me, and I really hope this inspires you to revisit